everyone. It's Mike Merker here. It's episode 90 of the Impossible Puzzles Show. Good Lord, we have Eric Olsen here.
Hey,
Eric,
Mike.
tell us
Thanks
all
for
about
having me.
yourself. Yeah, welcome. Hello. What's up in your life? Toys and inventing and games? What's going on?
Oh, I don't even know where to start. So many things going on. It's been a really exciting couple of years. And I just got into this game space. So I'm more on the game side of thing than the toys side of thing. And although I've been playing games my whole life, probably like you and a lot of the listeners, I didn't even realize this whole board game industry was there behind the scenes, right? And it's super exciting when you find out about it. As a matter of fact, last year was the first year I ever went to a board game convention, right? So I know,
Nice.
I know. So I'm kind of new to the whole thing, just the last 4 or 5 years. So the very quick introduction to me is during COVID, I came up with my first idea for a game. I had no idea what to do with the game. That game became a game called Glyphics, which is like Pictionary but with pieces. I guess that's my closest one to a toy, right? Because you're doing the pieces to make the pictures instead of drawing. So Pictionary for people that can't draw, right?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, I didn't even know I had this here. Here's the previous packaging, but these are what the pieces look like.
I love it. It's like
You use
hieroglyphics
the
or something.
pieces to make a picture,
Interesting. Okay, so
right?
Pictionary
So,
with
so this was my lead into the game world.
beautiful.
And then I made a little game called Flip 7, a little card game, and I licensed that to a big company. Everyone knows Mattel and everybody knows Hasbro, but really the publishing side of games, there's lots of big publishers once you get into that world. And one of them is called the Op. They used to be USA Oply. And I licensed my Flip 7 game to them. And they just went crazy with it. And it got nominated for a bunch of awards. And I got to go to New York City, and I got to go to Berlin. And
Berlin.
I mean, Berlin. I got to go to Berlin. I got to go to Chicago. So while this was happening, so just like book publishing, probably a lot of people know when you publish a book, you can try to get, a big name like Penguin or Simon and Schuster, or maybe you could try to do it yourself, self-publishing. So my little Flip 7 game is licensed to a bigger company, but I started my own little game company. I don't know if you can, we're Messy Table Games.
Yeah.
There's our logo there.
I love the logo on the shirt. That's the funky new trend. Everyone's doing
Yep.
it. All the cool cats.
Well, you've got it right there. I see yours right there.
I
So,
It's so fascinating and licensing of games. And could you share to those who are
yep.
to people watching this and they don't even know, they know what a driver's license is, they know what a James Bond license to kill is. What's a licensing? How does licensing work? What's licensing?
So, in short, what is licensing is you give over your product, your toy, your book, your game to another company that's typically larger and that typically has experience in selling whatever your thing is, right? In distributing it, selling it. So, you've got a toy, you give it to Mattel. Mattel's around the world. They go sell it everywhere for you, right? If you were to try to do your own toy, that's called self-publishing. The difference is, the big difference is when you license the game to the big company, it's kind of like the genie, right? Aladdin's genie, right?
Yes.
So he's like, he's got these great big powers and he's got this little itty bitty living space. You give it to this big huge company, right? Like Mattel or something like that, but you get royalties. So you license it to them. They do all the work. They do the marketing. They actually get the game manufactured. They do all of that stuff, but you get a little itty bitty piece of each game that sells. That is licensing in a nutshell, right? I
Fascinating.
guess it also holds a lot for music licenses as well. For we've all heard about performing artists, they get these big hits and they don't make very much of their money because the record label
Yes.
gets most of the money. It's the same in books. It's the same in games. So
Yes. Yes.
the upside is that maybe you get your game with a company that can go out and sell more copies than you can. The downside is for each game that they sell, you're probably getting less than $1 a game.
$1 per wholesale. It's like a
Well,
wholesale
probably less than $1.
less than a
I mean,
dollar. Okay.
I would say most people are getting 20 to 50 cents per game, maybe.
In your definition as a guy in the space, what's the difference between like a toy and a game and a puzzle?
Oh, I have not been asked that question before. I bet somebody has a better answer than I do.
No, we got Eric Olsen here. No, don't lower thyself,
Well, I
honest
would,
man.
I kind of think of a game. How do I think of a game? Because there are solo games. I guess playing a game solo can be a bit like doing a puzzle. Um, but I usually think of if you have a toy like a ball. Let's just take a ball, like a classic toy, right?
Yeah.
The ball itself is this fun object, but it's not a game, right? So
yeah.
a game, I guess, I'm making this up as I go,
Me
Mike, but I
too.
would say you can take the ball and play foursquare with it or play volleyball with it, and all of a sudden you have a game that you made from the toy. And I think a lot of people make games up with their toys. When I was a kid playing with my little Matchbox cars, I would make up little battles with them and stuff. So I'm playing with them. Maybe I make it into a game, or maybe I just do a make believe kind of a thing with the
Yes.
toy.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a game, like Flip 7 is could we call that a card game? But it's fun, so it's like a toy, but there's rules.
But there's rules.
There's rules like win, lose, when to take a card, kind of like
Yep.
card. It's interesting. So what's on a different note, what's your like inventive process? Do you stay up really late, get really drunk, pick fights with creative people until they shout back and the juices are flowing? What's Eric Olsen's magical equation for
You know,
inventing?
it's going to be super boring. I've heard lots of interviews with authors that have these crazy weird things that they do, For me, I guess a little more on the boring side. Some people say, "Oh man, you are so creative," and my answer to that is, I'm not sure that I am, but what I'm pretty good at is working through problem solving and iterating on a process. So when I say iterating, I just mean just going back to the drawing board over and over and over and trying little tiny changes. So when you see
Yes.
my game Flip 7, I'm not like Mozart. I didn't compose that in my head. It like magically appeared to me, and I'm like, oh, here's my new game.
Yes.
It kind of took a year to get there. And honestly, Mike, I guess my secret sauce is the people that I surround myself that I play games with. I choose people to play games with that are very good at giving me feedback on my games. And they tell me what they don't like. They tell me what they like.
Yeah.
And I keep trying stuff until people keep saying, "Hey, would you bring that game back again? Can we play that game again?" And that's kind of my process, I guess. The ideas themselves come from all over the place. I was getting my tire changed at the local tire shop,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting in the little lobby on the leather chair with the rip in the chair, and the TV's blaring some crazy terrible news station, and you're sitting there, this stale popcorn, and they had an old fashioned board. Like, do you remember the magnet letters that used to go on refrigerators?
Sure. Oh,
Like
I
the
have some
yellow,
upstairs. Yeah.
green, blue. They had that, and that hit me. I'm like, I wonder if I could. That's kind of cool. Like, what if we could Scrabbleize that?
Scrabbleize is the idea of Scrabbleize. Okay, it's funny. It's funny as you're saying this. Scrabbleize. I was thinking the same thing on tooting my own horn, where I'm like,
Oh, check that out.
where it's like, what if I could take like your Scrabbleize is I give each letter a fixed square tile, and then from there that is like a game building unit, game block or idea block, and
Yeah.
yeah, I got all this is how I was
And
thinking
you
the
have
same thing.
and you have yours color coded, Mike, right?
I literally, so I came across these like Lego like blocks that were like, kind of like puzzle pieces. I'm like
Uh-huh.
you. I'm like you. People are like, well, what's your inventive process? And I'm like, inventive process. They're like, how do you come up with such crazy stuff? And I'm like, it's very slow, incremental changes. I'm exactly the same. I go to my crew or the people I'm around. My wife is
Yep.
yelling. My mom is complaining why I didn't finish chemical engineering and instead switched to study math and fine art and linguistics, whatever. And the rabbis are saying this is not how you do the religion. And the teachers are saying you're a bad teacher. And then it's almost like the sum of praise, confusion, chaos, compliments, insults. It molds gradually over a year, sometimes 2 years, and
Over
then
time.
and then, isn't it fun? Isn't it like being like a kid in a candy store when you sit down, you're like, how will I take like something that's not interesting and give it shapes and colors and some form? That's what you do. You're also a inventor. Inventors are funny.
That's exactly. Um, I've been working on a few games, of course, and I had a concept that was given to me, and I played it with my first line of defense, which is my son and my 18-year-old son and his friends, and he's been my first line of defense for a few years now, and we played the game, and it was boring,
Yeah.
and we sat there and said, well, the main idea of the game is pretty good, but in its current format, we wouldn't touch it again. So what could we do?
Yes.
What can we do?
Yes.
What would make this more fun? Like, there's no interaction in this game. How can we make some interaction between players? How can we make it so that we're playing cards faster? How can we make it so that we're scoring more points? How can we add more decision making? How can we balance the strategy and the luck? We, you know, in the game space, there's certain things that I'm trying to. I have more like broad targets. Like, I don't want the game to be too hard to learn. I don't want it to take, in my case, I don't want it to take a long time. That's not there. There are games that's fine, but that's not what I'm trying to achieve. And so we kind of put those limits, those parameters around it, and we start messing around. We just mess around with it. We're messy table games.
I literally and okay, I literally, this was like, I remember showing this to my mom the first time, and and she's like, "This is not a good job for a Jewish boy to turn songs into QR codes. What happened to that programming job? What happened to the teaching kids coding? What happened to the online course creation?" I'm like, No, your son's like a mad scientist kind of toy inventor. You know, you don't say that to your wife. You don't say that to your Jewish wife. You don't say that to your mother. You don't say that to your brother.
That's hilarious.
People think like until you have like a fleshed out product and like the website's up and you got some videos and kids are talking about how they like it and how they like how you made it like this. There is a valley, there is a moments of where there's some second guessing. I'm like at midnight sitting in front of a bunch of colorful blocks and I'm like, I hope I'm going the right direction. Please God.
You know,
Please God.
yeah, very, very similar, right? For the first 4 years, I was doing games, and my job was also teaching. I was a high school math teacher, and my wife was not about to let me do games full time until until we could cover our medical insurance and practical things like that.
Real life.
You know,
Real
so
life.
this last year was a big year for me because it's the first year that I have been doing games full time.
Mazel tov! Congratulations
Thank
and
you.
mazel tov! Amazing.
Thank you.
And
It is. It's been an amazing year. Yeah.
teaching. I've also the best ideas I've ever had was teaching very little kids like ages 4, 5, 6, basic computer skills. There's so much to take in about how it's taught and why that how do you explore this area and like how do you introduce it and do you just talk, move your mouth because that's only one sense. Listening is only one sense. You're all about tactile, get into the game, do things with your hands, and you've been doing high school math as opposed to special education or interesting. How is math teaching made you made Mr. Olsen the guy he is today, the coolest guy?
That's hilarious. Um, personality wise, they both fit. When I'm teaching at my best, it's very interactive. I'm usually having students go up on boards or sit together in groups and have mini whiteboards or explain to each other or do some activities. you know that would be me teaching at my best rather than me being up in front of the room,
Yes.
just lecturing everybody. This is how we're going to do it. There's a little bit of that. I don't know how to get out of that at the high school level when you're teaching advanced math, but that's not my preferred way to do it, right? And I guess also, I like to keep my sense of humor in the classroom.
Yes. Yes.
Joke with people, and maybe there's some crossover there in terms of making things easy to digest that could be considered complicated.
It's amazing. Yeah, yeah, I can so relate. And I've even been I've been in interesting situations where it's like the wildest class and there's no way I'm gonna survive another 3 months. And I'm filling in for the other teachers on maternity leave, or so she said. Yeah, was the baby even coming, or did she just want to get the blank out of there? And it's so complicated today with the shorter attention span and the also a lot of confusion over identity and it's really hard. I'm 42, I got 5 kids, but I being a kid today, they need games. They need to learn. The kids today need other ways to learn. They don't need a sage on a stage. They need, like, what's the saying? Not the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side. The guide on the side.
That's a great saying. Yeah.
And even more so, you didn't just put together, like, you're not just a board game inventor. You're doing your own gaming company. What's that like? Messy Table Games. You're the co-founder. You're the head of the ship. Oh my God!
I'm
Put the
I'm the
oh my
co-captain. So it wasn't my idea actually. One of my very good friends from college came to one of my game nights, and we played a bunch of games. Some were my games, some were not my games. And this was a little over 3 years ago. And he said, "You should really start a game company." And I told him exactly what I just told you. I said, I said, my wife's not going to let me put a second mortgage on the house to start a game company. Like
It's so true.
that's, that's not going to happen. And, and he said, well, look, why don't we partner on this and see what happens? He said, the games are great. And he was ready to move on from what he was doing. So
Yes.
we started Messy Table Games, and we did this game. This is our first game right here. It's called
Booty.
Booty Dice, which is, again, a really funny, creative name that I did not come up with myself, but that's pirate booty, to be clear.
Yes. Yes.
And you roll
Oh,
those dice, and they're very special dice with pirate things on them, right? Jolly Rogers and gold and swords and stuff.
I love it. I love it.
And the winner is the last pirate alive or the first pirate to amass 25 gold doubloons. Super simple, very interactive, very fun, a little bit of luck, a little bit of strategy. And that was our first game.
MessyTableGames.com. Okay, I'm just looking at the website now. I see Tally Up, Booty Dice, a lot of
Yeah, go ahead. You know that one?
axolotls, French
A lot of
coats and French
axolotls.
toads, French coats, French goats in trench coats. Interesting. These are your creme de la creme. These are
Yep.
your games. What's it like? What's it like? Are you going to running a gaming company? What is that like? Do you chase after crazy creative people who are drunk at the back of a board game club? Are people messaging you 1,000 times a day, and your wife's like, if you call ever again, you better bring a pizza when you come? What's it like being the receiver and the middleman of the gameologists?
Yeah, it's all of that. There's a lot of, I guess I would say, the tedious, boring side of running any small business. So anybody that's done it knows that you have to wear a lot of hats. So and it's nice having a partner who we overlap on some things, but then on some other things we don't, which makes us a stronger partnership. So, I'm
Yes.
creating games, I'm doing the bookkeeping, I'm going back and forth with the, tedious stuff like back and forth with the manufacturer, going over the rules 100 times, going back and forth with the graphic designer. I don't want to say it's tedious, like boring, because if you like it, it can actually be fun and exciting stuff. But it's not actually playing games all the time. There's the actual running of the business. You mentioned influencers. So
Yes.
these days, people spend most of their marketing budget on social influencers and social ads, meta
Yes.
ads, paid influencers, stuff like that. But in order to do that, you need to make all those connections. You need to follow up with those connections. You need to compare costs. You need to see what the views are like. You got to try to measure. It's really hard to measure. That person did an Instagram post. It got 12,000 views. Did it boost our sales?
The bottom line, it is a business outside of
It
the
is a
fun.
business,
It is a
right?
business. The wives are thinking about, the health insurance and a little bit bread on the table. Yes, yes,
But
yes.
the fun parts for me, I love working with my partner, like the problem solving. But when we have our game nights where we're working on new games, I love that. I love when one of our new games comes out as a finished product after working on it for 2 years. When you get the
Wow.
finished product in your hand, that's a great moment, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then the other thing I told you, like last year is the first year I went to any conventions. That is awesome. That is so fun. You meet other game designers, you meet game publishers, you meet gamers, you just meet people that love to play games. It's just it's a great scene.
You feel that there are certain things you look for when you're exploring a new project or prospecting, scouting. How do you do that? It's got to be so interesting.
Yeah, so far we have had enough ideas internally that we haven't solicited ideas, but we have started to consider some outside ideas, and that opens a whole new can of worms. Um, but even for ourselves, Mike, like you saw, there's 4 games on our website.
Yes.
We've got a 5th game coming out in a little
Star
over a month.
Catcher.
So how do we choose? How do we choose this game, right?
Yes.
So at any given time, we're typically working on 5 or 6 different games or ideas, and sometimes people will bring us an idea. We haven't done any of those outside ones yet, but we might someday.
Interesting.
And we just kind of ask ourselves, what of these games that we're looking at best fits in with our brand, our identity, our vibe.
What is the vibe, the brand, the identity of messy table games?
Well, hopefully some of it's in the name. You know, we don't take anything too seriously, right? But all of our games that you said that you saw on the website,
Yeah. I'm looking at them right now.
what do they have in common? You can learn all of them in 5 minutes. That's one thing. None of them
Yes.
take more than 30 minutes to play. That's another thing. All of them play up to 6 players. That's important to me. Like you got a family with 5 kids, right? So
We
you
play
need
so
games,
many. It's part of life.
games that you can play with, the whole family. You're limited because a lot of games only play 4 players. So
Yeah.
These are very conscious decisions on our side. And the games are very interactive. Axolotls is interactive. Tally Up is interactive. Booty Dice is crazy interactive. At the end of your roll, you're literally taking other people's gold and attacking people and walking the plank and doing all these things. So you can literally reach over the table and steal somebody's gold after your turn. But then your kid's going to steal your gold on their turn and that kind of a thing.
It's fascinating. So there's so many different ideas around games, board. Let's say in the field of board games or card games or dice games.
Yep.
So many different things. You have like the extremely intricate Settlers of Catan or Civilization, the board game, and then you
For
come
sure.
down a little bit to not so intricate, but many cards mechanics like maybe a Monopoly. But my daughter, who's 4, when we were at the library last week, she was ecstatic to play Candyland, and Candyland is like so basic. It doesn't even have dice. It has like a little spinny wheel, and it's kind of like Snakes and Ladders, but even simpler. And you get your little ice cream character. And is it okay that some games are more mentally strategically challenging, but some are just low hanging fruit for younger children?
I think it's one of the strengths of games. And I think it's, I'm an avid reader, Mike, and I think it's a strength of books, right? Like, you're not going to start a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old on, a Pulitzer Prize winning book, right?
Yes.
And there's books for different ages. There's different genres for people that like different things. And games are very much the same. If you like these heavy, 2-hour strategy or dungeon crawling games, like my daughter's a huge fan of the old D&D, and she runs her own campaigns and she loves it. And so that's available to you. If you want to play Magic the Gathering or a Pokemon type of game, that's available to you. If you've got kids that are 4 or 5 or 6 years old, there's along with Candyland and Shoots
Yes.
and Ladders and stuff like that, there are now the game world is being more informed. So people are actually making entry level games for young gamers. We actually have one coming out next year that's designed for really young players.
Interesting.
And like your daughter,
She would love it.
so this little axolotl game, so they're
Yes.
super cute, right?
That the your boxing, not just the game mechanics, but the layout of your pieces, the way they're cut, shaped, manufactured, the detail, just from getting deeper into like, and the box design, your attention to detail. You are like, Eric, you are so meticulous
We
on
we
everything.
are. I'm probably a
Yeah.
little. I'm probably a little
No,
too
no,
meticulous.
good.
But
I did.
we
We're all. We need to be. We need to be your
one of
art.
our mottos is that how do you take a good game or an average game and make it
Yes.
into a great game? How do you set yourself apart? And one of the ways that we think we do that is with our packaging and our attention to detail and trying to get everything perfect, as perfect as we can. But also in playing the games. My games are played over a year. They're played over and over and over and over and over, so that
Yes.
because little tiny things in a game, little tiny things
Yes.
are what bring people back over and over and over again, or don't bring
Or
people
don't.
back.
Fascinating. Fascinating. And what are your thoughts on like patents and copyright?
Um, yeah. So we're believers in. Some people do the shotgun approach. They put out 10 games and they hope one or two of them stick. We'll put out one or two games and just work our tails off on those games, right?
Yes.
We want every game to be a home run instead of like hit a bunch of doubles and that kind of thing. Patent and copyright. So there's patents, there's copyrights, and there's trademarks. Most people that do games don't worry too much about the copyright. Basically, by publishing the game, the rules are almost automatically copywritten just by publishing. But most people do trademark for sure.
Yes.
And people do trademark because if you have a game like Flip 7 or Tally Up or whatever it is, and you want to do a website or you want to do t-shirts or you want to do, whatever it is, or even the game name. Now, by publishing the game,
Yeah.
I get it automatic trademark, but they basically say that you still want to file the trademark because if something happens, it makes it easier to litigate.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
So most game people that I know, not even everybody does the trademarks. A lot of people don't worry about it, but most companies will go ahead and trademark the name for sure, the name of the game.
The name it is. Okay.
Patents are very rare in the game world.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason that they're rare is that you have to have something new to patent. And 99% of games are just different things. It's like putting words together in a different way. You're taking this idea and this idea. You can't patent drawing a card. You can't patent rolling the dice.
It has to
So
be a novel and
there has
very
to be
out of the box. Yeah.
something in there that's worth patenting.
Interesting.
And there's usually not.
So interesting and fascinating. And Eric, what's a day in your life really like?
Well, it starts with coffee. you know.
Double, everyone.
Uh, you know, there's a lot of emails.
Okay.
So there's emails with, wow, there's emails with the factory, there's emails with influencers, there's emails with my partner, there's emails with other publishers that I network with, asking them questions and things like that. There's emails where we're with our distributor. There's emails with other companies overseas where we're trying to localize our games. There's emails where we're in conversations about pitching games. So there's lots and lots and lots of emails, right? Or an email for a podcast. And there's all these emails. I try to spend some time on game design. That does not actually happen every day, but I try to make that happen every day. I do quite a few trips to the post office and FedEx and
I do
stuff.
too. And I'm interrupting you. My wife's always like, "Who are you sending the samples to now?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just going for a walk." She's like, "A walk with 30 like." You're going for a walk? Like, what? If you're going for a walk, why do you need 50 different puzzle pieces? And I'm like, oh, it's just to reflect. She's like, how much is that package? Sending of samples and the back and forth with a designer. There's so much behind the scenes.
And I finally got a site called Pirate Ship. So Pirate Ship, I'm on Pirate Ship, and I've got my own little printer and my own little scale. And I went on Amazon and got my own little packages. So I'm saving myself a ton of money now when I'm sending out my samples, because I can weigh them and package them myself. And then I go on Pirate Ship, and something that's normally $10.99 to send to New York is now $4.99.
Nice.
And I don't have to wait in line at the post office, because when you print the label and stick it on, you just go drop it off. But I still need to get over to the to the post office and UPS and stuff like that.
Any toy inventing or game design or card game things, we always do have to go through the prototyping phase and the imagination phase and the mail out to all the not nice people who tell us what needs to be fixed phase, and the wife yelling phase and
my prototypes are pretty ugly. But right now I'm working on a game, and I have my son, who I need to Venmo for going to do this for me. He ran to Walmart and picked up a couple Uno decks.
Nice.
So that I can use Uno cards to prototype an idea that I'm working on. But awesome. I needed the numbers 11 and 12. So you can see how terrible that is.
No, you're good. We're not so different, you and I. I sometimes start with one of my, I guess I'm more in the coding STEM. I'm more in the STEM space. So I was always loved the Light Bright, going way back. How
those
they take
fantastic.
it's like there's only a small set of color circles in the maps, and it's so well thought out. Like, okay, here's the dinosaur drawing, but here's the Light Bright kind of color circle map. So it's not color by number, but it's kind of like shape and orientation, and the glow, not just the glow of the Light Bright when you put the batteries in the right way, after your finger's stuck in the back, but the glow on my daughter's face as we're putting in each piece, and then the bright lights actually light up like that it's magical. It is a magical experience, and it's so interesting for the parents. Just wrapping my head around it, anytime I bought a toy before I started thinking about inventing toys or making them, when I used to buy toys, it's always like, how will my child feel when they're doing it? And that's what, and you know this better than I. It's so interesting. It's like, Because at the end of the day, yes, there is like the child playing or the young adults playing, but there's also the consumerism, the convincing the one, the mother holding the purse strings. And how do
Sure.
you navigate that? How do you win over the mother or father to actually consider, the dropping of the dead presidents and the dead queens and the Skrilla? How do you win their hearts so well? Because you're doing great.
Well, you know, marketing is marketing is the big question mark in the game industry and probably a lot of industries, right? Some good products never make it. Some mediocre products do make it that have fantastic marketing. We all know that. So the first step we already talked about, which is we do everything on our side that we can, everything. Dot every I, cross every T, play test it, go over the rules, over and over and over again.
Yes.
Make sure the packaging is great and that we really do pay attention. Like, my partner and I went over and over and over just the cover of this.
Yeah.
We went over and over and over the descriptions in the back that probably no one reads, but we pay all that attention to those things. So the first step is provide the absolute best product that we can and know who our target audience is. And then the second is trying to make sure when we're running ads and we're doing marketing and we're using social influencers that we've got the right ones, right? Like, my games are not 2-player games. There's influencers that mostly do 2-player games. I want influencers that do family games, right?
Interesting.
And on Amazon, if you're running Amazon ads, the reviews on Amazon or the reviews anywhere are critical, because and I know that if you've ever used Amazon and you're looking for a t-shirt or whatever picture frame, whatever it is you're looking for, you hardly even look at the description. What you do look at are the number of stars.
Yes.
What you do look at is the rating. So we really count on delivering a product that we know that the families are going to like, and then let it snowball as we, sell more and more games, and watch the reviews build up. Because in the end, you can't stop that. If we put the right product out and we do market it, we're not dumping 7 figures into it, but we put money into marketing. We request reviews. We ask people to review. And Booty Dice has a 4.8, Axolotls has a 4.7, and for me, that's one of the best things that I feel like we've accomplished.
Fascinating.
Because very few games on Amazon have a 4.8 rating.
So interesting. There's so much more to talk about, and we may have to have a follow-up episode. And in the last minute we have you, what would be your mantra? What would be your? You don't have to rap, and we don't have to have ladies in the back shaking their tuchuses, shaking their butts. But what would be your 1-minute philosophic rant to the future younger, wiser, or whatever, the future toy makers and game makers?
Mike, they are out there, the younger, smarter versions of us.
I know, I'm related to them.
They're definitely out there. I would say, first of all, if it's toys or games or books, do what you're passionate about. And if you're not sure what you're passionate about, then, for crying out loud, try some different things, because there might be something there that you would be passionate about, but you didn't even know about it. My son did pottery this last year in high school and fell in love with it. Now he's going to a pottery studio several times a week over the summer, and he's probably going to do it at college too, not maybe as his major, but you don't know what you might be passionate about, so you need to give it a shot. And the other thing is be open to feedback.
Yes.
I think that's my number one lesson is no matter how smart you are or how good you are or whatever it is, the best violin players in the world get feedback. The best singers in the world get feedback. And that I think that most of the people that make the best games or write the best books, they get feedback, right?
Yeah.
And instead of being like, oh my God, my game's good the way it is. I don't need your freaking feedback. Be like, for me, that's what makes the game. You want that feedback. Ask for the feedback. Be open to the feedback. Go after the feedback, and that's going to help you create the best product, whatever it
Yes.
is that you want to do.
Oh my God. Okay, we will have to pause over here. Amazing episode number 90. Thank you, Eric Olsen of Messy Table Games, and we're learning all about your incredible games of Flip 7, and I'm reading off your website here, and your beautiful business partners helping you put everything together. What a great time. A pleasure. Eric, thanks for joining us. Amazing.
Mike, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.